Hello everyone, I'm David Scranton and thank you for clicking this video. You know, since it's the start of a new year, today we're talking about ways that you can improve your financial health. If your goal is to get your finances in shape, then this video is for you. And now it's time to bring in our guest, David Wright, owner of Wright Financial Group, a retirement income store located in Toledo, Ohio. David, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, David, for having me on the show again.
So, as a businessman, I know that you set business goals every year because you have to. But how about personal goals? How good are you, truthfully, honestly, at setting personal goals for yourself and your family?
To be honest with you, not as good. And I'm going on YouTube TV telling you that. The business goals seem to get met much more easily because I put the pencil to paper, I make them specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. But on my personal goals, because I spend so much time doing what I do, helping my clients, that sometimes the personal goals can get kind of stuck in the backlight, and I don't follow those nearly as well. But as I get older, I'm understanding more and more how important it is to take care of the mental, the physical, the spiritual part of your personal goal setting. So my goal, one of my personal goals from a physical standpoint is to drop off, some lbs this year and get in a little bit more physical shape. And all of that, the spiritual and the mental goals are met when the physical goals are met.
All right, Dave, I have to ask you, you said goals have to be specific and measurable. So you got to give us a number here. We got the whole YouTube community, all the viewers, the income generation, are going to hold you accountable, my friend. How many lbs? Let's hear it.
50 lbs. We're going to do 50 lbs this year. I know it's a lot. That's like another person, but they definitely are attainable. Just a couple of pounds a month, just from late night eating, getting rid of the late night eating, doing at least 4 days a week, 30 minutes of physical exercise. And if I put the pencil to paper and follow that, like I do my business goals, that should be no problem. The pounds will fall off me.
50 lbs in a year is really only cutting calories by 500 calories a day. So it's either you cut 500 calories a day or you exercise and burn off an extra 500 calories. That's all it is 500 calories a day, which shouldn't be that big of a deal. So some people might hear that and say, oh my goodness, that's unhealthful. No, it's not. It's really, it's right in the range. But hey, let's switch subjects. What do you think holds most people back then from setting good goals, or maybe from setting goals and just not achieving them? What causes that?
Because they're not willing to go public with them. I think that's the number one goal. People are just afraid to share their goal with someone else, and for fear of not making their goal, then they feel like a failure. Well, there's nothing more courageous than making a goal and then sharing it with those people around you that you love and respect, my mentors, et cetera, and then sticking to it. Put it on paper. Now, I rattled off this specific, measurable, but they're called SMART goals. You want them to be specific. They got to be specific. If they're too vague, then you're not going to know how to follow them. They got to be measurable. So we have to know by some kind of metric how we can measure them. They have to be attainable. If I'd have just told you now that my personal goal was, 120 pounds, well, of course I'd be a skeleton, then that's not attainable. But we want them to be relevant. That's probably the most important acronym of SMART is relevant. If the why is important, the how will take care of itself. And then you have to have a time frame. The T of that acronym, you got to have a time frame over which you're going to achieve the goal. And mine is over the entire course of 2022.
So congratulations. You did have the whole community here help hold you accountable. I think that's great. But financial goals are private though. But still, you can, isn't it something that you could share with your spouse, share with family members, to have people close to you that you don't mind sharing finances with, hold you accountable, or maybe even a good financial advisor, for example, like yourself, to hold people accountable for those goals?
Absolutely. And I think part of the reason people don't make their goals is because they aren't specific about them, because they don't even know what the right questions are financially that they should be asking themselves. Let me give you an example. a lot of people that attend our webinars are do-it-yourselfers. So they're DIYers. They think they have their finances and their financial goals in order. In other words, Dave, they feel like they've saved enough. But the reality of the situation is they may not be invested correctly for the reason they need that money. Many people just think of their money as a lump sum purchase. They may not think of their money as an income generator. Well, those are two different separate types of money needs that if they don't have those goals specifically measured, then they may not make their goals happen, especially in 2022.
So, okay, let's say then, of course, most people watching this are part of the income generation. So most of their investment at this stage of their life is for income. So speak to the income investors for 2022. Do you think there are going to be more challenges for income investors than opportunities, or vice versa over the next 12 months?
I think that income investors in 2022 really need to have the radar on. If they are not working with a income specialist, and I'm not talking about somebody that calls themselves an income specialist, but I mean somebody that really does true in-house research of what issues are out there that can generate growth, but also income at the same time, is really going to be out in left field this year. Because face it, with the Fed's tapering probably over by the end of March, they may or may not raise short-term interest rates. But with those two things looming in the horizon, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the stock market to continue to rise like it did last year. So I think people need to become, especially income investors, more antenna and in tune with the fact that markets could be, in for quite a bumpy ride next year. Certainly not like they were, for the first half of last year, when GDP was at 6%. But then we saw in the third quarter a big slowdown. So, I think income investors need to understand that their money is being put under the microscope this year. And if they're selling shares, that's a bad way to plan for your year as far as an income stream for your investments.
Yeah, well, you're right. That's not income investing at all. That's faux income investing. So, okay, last but not least, what's your best advice for those members of the income generation now who have, New Year's resolutions for 2022? What's your best advice for them if they're in or nearing retirement?
Have a budget, and have a realistic budget. Know what your money is for. If it's for a large lump sum purchase, wonderful. There might be a different way to invest that. If it's for income, understand what your income is going to be produced from that investment. And then be a do-it-for-yourselfer, not be a do-it-yourselfer. I could go up on a ladder and clean the leaves out of my eave spout, but I did that once and I almost fell off the ladder. It's important to understand that income investors need to work with someone that knows how to get up on the ladder, clean the leaves out for yourself, so that you are in the right things that are being monitored and watched for the next year, so that they can produce reliable streams of income, not just for next year, but for the rest of your life. That's, the best goal that I can give people is don't let FOMO, don't let fear of missing out that the market's going to pass you by, keep you from understanding the purpose of what your investments are for, either income or for lump sum purchases. Keep those things in your mind, and I think you'll have a good 2022.
I know, Dave, you always talk about not being a performance-based investor, being a purpose-based investor instead, which is exactly what you're referring to. So we'll have to have you back on so you can talk to everyone a little bit more about that. But for now, Dave Wright, thanks so much for being with us here on The Income Generation.
Thanks for having me back, Dave. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for watching today's video, 20 tips to improve your financial health in 2022. If you enjoyed it, click the thumbs up button to give us a like, and also make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel for new content each and every week.